This is the Dakota top. Now, when I talk about the Dakota top, I want to talk about proportion, and you need to trust yourself because you really do have good proportion. I think a lot of times you don't trust what you're doing. So I want to explain this. If you look at this stripe right here, this stripe was not part of the garment to begin with, and I just had the yoke up here at the top and the yoke in the back. That's all I had, and the rest of it was the stripe. And I thought, no, that just really doesn't look right. And the proportion was off because it was striped. Now, I love striped fabric, and my mother used to tell me when I was younger, and by the way, I have always looked like this, when I was younger, is big girls don't wear stripes. She never really had an answer as to why big girls didn't wear stripes, and I happen to love stripes. So I wear them, and I wear them very proudly. So if you like stripes, wear them. Size doesn't matter when you wear stripes. But this just takes the detail a little bit further. So anyway, the proportion was off, and I laid this stripe on the garment after I'd finished it, and I went, yep, that's it. That kind of brings the whole thing into proportion, and I liked it a whole lot better. Now, this is a crossover, but not a very big crossover. So I've given you the directions on your paper as to exactly the measurements of how to cut up your master pattern. Basically, all you're adding is you're adding this little triangle or this little right angle right here, and this is where that little right angle is going to go. This is the piece that you cut out, and this piece that you cut out is going to go back in like this, and this is basically your yoke. So that's all that it is. Now, while I have this laying on the table, let me show you something else that I did. If you look at here, this is the V in the front of the shirt, and this is the V in the front of my shirt. And the very first time I wore this to class, I was moving around, and a lady came up afterwards and she said, every time you raise your arms, I can see the top of your pants. And I thought, oh, I don't want that to be. So what I did was I fixed it. All I had to do is to go back and stitch in a triangle, and it looks like I have a camisole on. So that triangle matches the stripes. Simple to do. Now, in order to get the stripes on here, not the stripes, but the strip on here, I glued it on. And I glued it on with Steam-a-Seam. That means I had no pins whatsoever to follow. A lot of you pin things like this, and then you stitch it, and then you take it off and you look at it and it's crooked. And then you have to rip it apart and try it again. It's the pins that pull crooked. So if you will glue trim on like this, if you would glue it on, it's going to stay exactly where you put it. You can lay it down and see that it's straight or not straight, and you can manipulate it. Steam-a-Seam comes sticky, so you can literally put a strip down on your fabric, hold it up and look at it, and if you don't like it, you could pull the strip off and move it. Once you put a hot iron to Steam-a-Seam, you've melted the glue and it sticks permanently. So keep that in mind when you're working. So let me take the fronts away, and I'm going to show you the sleeve, because the sleeve is kind of fun as well. So all I did was to put a yoke right at the top of the sleeve cap, and this is kind of simple as well. So let me put this behind me, and then I'll get the sleeve out. And all of these directions are on your PDF, so make sure that you print that out. This is the cap, and that was the cap that was navy blue. And all I'm going to do is to fill that back in to my sleeve pattern. Simple to do. So make sure that when you do this, that you add a 1/2 inch seam allowance to the cap of where you've pieced it, so that you have a way to put it back together. That's the only thing I've changed on the sleeve, is just that little piece of the cap. On the back of this, and you wouldn't have to do this if you didn't want to, but on the back of this, what I did was I just added a yoke, and this is my yoke. And all I'm going to do is to cut it wherever you want to make that yoke to be. And a lot of this depends on the fabric that you're working with. And make sure that you add a 1/2 inch to put it back together again, and you have the Dakota top.